Hi, my name's Eric. I'll be reading you selections from today's Cape Cod Times. Today's date is Monday, August 10th of 2026. We'll start with the weather, as we always do. Across the Cape and Islands today, hazy sunshine and less humid conditions, probably a little more comfortable than it has been over the weekend. A high of 84 expected and a low of 71 in the overnight with partly cloudy and humid conditions for tonight. Tomorrow, Tuesday, high of 85, low of 66 expected. Partly sunny, thunderstorms possible, and humidity returns. Wednesday, partly sunny and humid. Sunny, high of 83 expected, a low of 69. On Thursday, sun and clouds with a few showers, humid again, high of 83, a low of 67. And on Friday, mostly cloudy, humid, high of 82, low of 66. So today is the most comfortable day as far as humidity goes, and will be a high of 84, give or take. But the rest of the week, a little uncomfortable, might get a little wet on a couple of those days with some rain. Sun will rise at 5:44 a.m. today. It'll set at 7:48 p.m. We'll have 14 hours and 4 minutes of daylight. The moon will rise at 2:43 a.m. and set at 6:42 p.m. Heading to the front of the paper, where they used to keep the lottery results. Now we go to masslottery.com because the Cape Cod Times goes to press too early to give you those latest results. And if you ask for them, you certainly deserve those latest results. So we go to masslottery.com, and for the numbers game of Sunday, August 9th of 2026, in the midday, the winning numbers were 1, 5, 4, 5. Again, yesterday's midday winning numbers of the numbers game, 1, 5, 4, 5. In the evening last night for the numbers game, the results were 1, 9, 9, 9. Again, last night's evening numbers game results, those numbers 1, 9, 9, 9. Mass Cash was drawn yesterday as well. The midday winning numbers for Mass Cash, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 28. Again, yesterday's midday winning numbers for Mass Cash, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 28. In the evening of Mass Cash, the drawing numbers were 13, 25, 27, 28, and 30. Again, last night's evening winning numbers for Mass Cash, 13, 25, 27, 28, and 30. Good luck to all who play. Remember us if you win. Headline on the front page of today's Cape Cod Times reads, Returning to his roots. After a career in the office, a Nantucket farmer finds his way back to the soil, by Denise Coffey in West Barnstable. Garlic and onions, tomatoes, and potatoes fill the shelves of the Bartlett's Farm Store at 2211 Route 6A. Lettuce, beets, carrots, potatoes, and strawberries are also on hand. Even the fragrance of their lilies is intoxicating, and most of it is organically grown on 5 acres planted and harvested by John and Sarah Bartlett. We believe in doing things organically, John Bartlett said in an interview on August 5th. We believe in providing our customers with something that comes from the soil, and I love to farm, so here we are. The Bartletts are the 6th generation of a 7th generation farming family that traces its roots to Nantucket. When the West Barnstable property became available in 2024, the Bartletts jumped. Establishing a farm on the mainland will allow him to pass his knowledge to the next generation of Bartletts, and it'll be part of a business succession plan. It was something we wanted to try, Bartlett said. They aren't alone. The Bartletts are part of a national trend that's seen certified organic cropland acres increase by 79% from 2011 to 2021. According to a National Agricultural Statistics Service. That survey found that certified organic operations increased by 90% in that same period. Who buys organic food? Millennials and Gen Z buy the most organic products. Both cohorts cite health benefits and nutrition as reasons for their purchases, according to a survey from the Organic Trade Association. But shoppers in all demographics are basing more of their purchases on organic labeling. Kathy Blackwell was one of the shoppers perusing the offerings on August 5th. She's not a millennial, but she shops at the store often and gets all her vegetables from the farm. During the recent Cyclospora outbreak, she didn't have to worry, she said. I love the variety of food, the wholesomeness of the food, the atmosphere of the store, she said during a pause in her shopping. And I love the flowers. The shoppers who come into the store are all types, Bartlett said. The mix includes old and young, summer people, tourists, and residents from Barnstable, Yarmouth, Dennis, and Sandwich primarily, she said. He said, shoppers are typically concerned about health, environmental sustainability, ethical sourcing, and they're willing to pay higher prices. Blackwell said she wasn't concerned when outbreaks of cyclosporiasis cases were reported in the U.S. Cyclospora is a parasite associated with produce that's grown in soil or washed with water contaminated by feces. Parasitic infections were reported in 41 states as of July 30th, according to Food Safety News. I didn't have to worry, she said. Bartlett has spent the last 20 years doing primarily administrative work on the family's Nantucket farm, he said. The Barnstable farm gives him a chance to get back to something he loves, planting and growing vegetables. He can grow a variety of crops on the Cape, some of which might surprise his shoppers, such as celery and garlic, and he welcomes the opportunity to try new things. Their life follows the seasons. Planting begins in the greenhouses in late January to early February, and it continues through the spring. Summer is all about maintaining the crops and harvesting that they produce. When harvests end in the fall, he'll put things to bed, he said. Work days are shorter in the winter, but there are always repairs to make and plans to be made. Not everything in the store comes from the land or greenhouses or is organic. The Bartletts try to source as locally as they can. They partner with Crow Farm in Sandwich, Ward's Farm in Sharon, as well as some Rhode Island and southwestern Massachusetts farms, and regional vendors. The other local story in today's rather small Cape Cod Times, from the Cape and Island section, Mashpee Wampanoag land, damaged in February blizzard, is eligible for FEMA aid, by Rachel Devaney. In September of 2018, President Trump's Interior Department attempted to yank the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe's 321-acre reservation out of federal trust, which threatened to kill the tribe's planned $1 billion casino in Taunton. The move was made with a backdrop of politics and business. Several high-powered lobbyists with ties to Trump had been enlisted by Rhode Island-based Twin River Management Group, which manages that state's 2 casinos, to challenge the recognition of the trust. And after a fierce legal battle, a federal judge said the Interior Department couldn't do that. The Biden administration in December of 2021 reaffirmed the tribe's land in trust status, restoring the reservation. Trump's hostility toward tribal casinos is well documented, viewing them as a threat to the casinos he once owned before they went bankrupt. Fast forward to July, when the Federal Emergency Management Agency declared a disaster for damage done by the February blizzard to tribal property in Mashpee and Taunton. Nelson Andrews, the tribe's emergency preparedness officer, said disaster declaration was a first for a federal tribe in Region 1, which includes 10 tribes that have homelands from Maine to Rhode Island. The declaration, called FEMA-4919-DR, was approved June 30th of 2026, according to the tribe's website. The tribe incurred at least $100,000 in expenses related to the storm, but the amount the tribe will receive through the declaration has not yet been decided. FEMA will decide how much the tribe will ultimately receive once all the paperwork's been processed. Andrews said the Massachusetts Mashpee Wampanoag tribe worked hard to win that assistance. Other tribes in the region had also sought the federal aid but weren't successful. Andrews said he and his department filled out a 26-page application and cover letter, which was delivered to FEMA. The money can be used for emergency work like plowing and repairing or replacing facilities that were damaged by the blizzard, he said. The tribe also submitted expenses related to the shelter that the tribe opened at the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe Government Center, which was open to tribal members and the public during the storm. Throughout the process, Andrews will work with FEMA staff through a liaison based in Cambridge. and then I will submit documentation like invoices for damages to buildings, roadways, and overtime hours, and damaged plows, trucks, and bobcats, he said. From March 2013 to March 2015, Andrews served as the support branch director for the FEMA National Incident Management Assistance Team. Later, he was the FEMA Region 1 Tribal Liaison and FEMA Integration Team member, serving 10 tribes in the Northeast. It's exciting that we were approved. It was a lot of work, but I knew we could do it. He said, "It shows that when we work together, we can accomplish great things." And it's time for the Cape Cod Baseball League Championships. We'll keep it local with this. This is the last remaining local stories in today's Cape Cod Times. The Cape Cod Baseball League Braves and Mariners reach their championship by Courtney Jacobs. The third-ranked Harwich Mariners swept the top-seeded Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox in Game 2 of the East Division Finals 7-6 on Saturday, August 8th. The Red Sox took a 4-0 lead after the top of the fourth inning and looked like they were going to force a Game 3, but the Mariners responded with 5 runs over the fourth and fifth innings to tie the game at 5. The Mariners took a 6-5 lead in the bottom of the sixth inning and never trailed the rest of the game. J.P. Peltier of Wright State went 3 for 4 with an RBI and a run scored for Harwich. Colin Larson of Boston College and Tyler Smolinski of Kansas State each collected 2 hits. Jake Souders of Samford went 4 for 5 with an RBI and a run for Yarmouth Dennis, while Jay Starnish of Kentucky finished 3 for 4 with 2 runs scored and an RBI. Tommy Gooden was 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. In other Cape Cod Baseball League action, it was the number 2 Bourne Braves 3, Hyannis Harbor Hawks 0. The Braves swept the Harbor Hawks to reach their 6th straight championship appearance. Will Harrigan of Columbia pitched 6 scoreless innings, allowing 3 hits, 2 walks, and striking out 6 for the win. So it will be the Braves from Bourne and the Mariners from Harwich in the Cape Cod Baseball League Championship. Now we'll move to a different kind of local news, the obituaries and death notices that are listed in today's Cape Cod Times. And in the Times of August 10th, 2026, the first obituaries of Ernest Robert Keating of Falmouth, a respected military officer, community leader, and devoted family man who passed on August 8th at the age of 90. He was born January 5th, 1936 in Weymouth. He graduated from Weymouth High in 1954 and worked briefly at Raytheon before beginning his military service in 1957. Mr. Keating, thank you for your service. During a military career spanning nearly 4 decades, Ernie rose to the rank of colonel and served as base commander at Otis Air National Guard Base. He was deeply proud of Otis, its mission, and the men and women with whom he served. Known for his leadership and commitment to service, he worked tirelessly to strengthen the relationship between the base and the surrounding community. He helped establish the Civic Leader Tour program. He worked closely with the Otis Civilian Advisory Council and built lasting relationships among military leaders, elected officials, business and community leaders, veterans, and residents of Cape Cod. Working with the late Senator Edward M. Kennedy and other military, government, and community leaders, Ernie also played an important role in securing the F-15 aircraft for the 102nd Fighter Wing at Otis. His work reflected his belief in the importance of communication, cooperation, and public service. Ernie married Jan Keating, née Hoyle, on April 27th of 1968, and they moved to Falmouth the following year. During their 58 years of marriage, they built a life centered on family, faith, generosity, and laughter. He often called Jan the greatest gift in his life. A visitation will be held at Chapman Funerals and Cremations at 475 Main Street in Falmouth on Wednesday, August 12th, from 5 to 7 p.m. That's this Wednesday, followed by a funeral mass at Christ the King Church in Mashpee on Thursday, August 13th at 11 a.m. Colonel Keating will be laid to rest with full military honors at the Massachusetts National Cemetery in Bourne in a private ceremony. Ernie will be deeply missed and lovingly remembered for his leadership, generosity, humor, unwavering devotion to his family, and the many lives he touched through a lifetime of service. The next obituary is of Eugene Berman of Yarmouthport, who at the age of 96 passed peacefully surrounded by his family on August 6th. He was raised in the heart of Hyannis and graduated from Barnstable High School before earning his degree at the University of Vermont. In 1953, Gene married the love of his life, Marcy Berman, beginning a beautiful 73-year journey together that became the foundation for the devoted, close-knit family he cherished above all else. For 35 years, he could be found at the family-owned clothing store Berman's on Main Street in Hyannis. His business acumen eventually led him to partner in the hotel industry and build a 26-year career in commercial real estate. His commitment to local governance was unmatched, including 32 years on the Zoning Board of Appeals, 18 years commission on the Licensing Authority, and past chairman of the Traffic and Transportation Commission for the town of Barnstable. Gene was equally generous with his time, stepping up to lead many of the organizations he cared about. A member of the Kiwanis Club since 1953, he chaired numerous committees over more than 7 decades and earned the honor of serving as Lieutenant Governor of the New England District of Kiwanis International, a testament to his enduring spirit of service. Gene and Marcy traveled extensively with Kiwanis from Europe to Asia. He is survived by his wife, Marcella Marcy Berman of Yarmouthport, and many family and friends. A funeral will be held at the Cape Cod Synagogue on Tuesday, August 11th at 11 a.m. That's tomorrow. A gathering, reception, and Shiva service to follow. Donations in Gene's memory may be made to Kiwanis International at kiwanis.org, who we are, /ways to give, /donation. The next obituary in today's Cape Cod Times is of Judith C. McLaughlin of Brewster, who at the age of 84 passed peacefully on Friday, July 24th, with her family by her side. She was born July 27th, 1941, in Boston. She lived in Rosendale for many years, where she raised her son Barry, whom she considered her greatest accomplishment. She worked as a legal secretary in Boston for more than 30 years, and was a loyal employee of the law firm Whitett, Slater, and Goldman. In 2001, Judith relocated to Falmouth, where she delighted in the beauty of an ocean drive every day. A proud washashore, she became actively involved with the Falmouth Newcomers Club and the Dirt Diggers Garden Club, where she formed many lasting friendships. Family was at the heart of Judith's life. She loved hosting the annual family cookout each summer and looked forward to traveling to Connecticut every Christmas to celebrate with her extended family. Nothing brought her greater joy than the special week she spent each summer with her beloved grandson Michael. Together they explored Cape Cod, cheered on the Falmouth Commodores, enjoyed days at the beach, and never passed up an ice cream treat. She is survived by many family and friends. A Mass will be held for Judith at St. Pius X Parish of South Yarmouth on 98 Station Ave in South Yarmouth, Saturday, September 19th at 11 a.m., and following the Mass, the family will host a celebration of life. In lieu of flowers, any memorial contributions may be made to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital or Outer Cape Health Services. The next obituary is of Todd L. Dennison of Eastham, a native of Cape Cod, who passed in the early morning of July 27th with his wife Joyce by his side. After more than 31 years together, including 29 years of marriage, they found their way back to each other and spent his final years side by side, caring for each other through illness and devotion and love. Todd was a devoted New England Patriots fan. He loved soccer. He was proud to have played on Nauset High School's 1979 state championship soccer team. Sports were one of his lifelong passions. He also loved his dogs Odie and Bentley and treasured the time he spent with his family. He is survived by his beloved wife, Joyce Dennison, and many family and friends. A celebration of life will be held on Saturday, August 22nd from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Elks Lodge Pavilion in Eastham, Massachusetts. Friends and family are invited to gather for a potluck barbecue to share memories, celebrate Todd's life, and honor the time they shared with him. Guests are warmly invited to bring photographs or stories to share as they celebrate his life. The next obituaries of Louise S. Carandy of East Sandwich, who at the age of 93 passed on July 18th. Born June 17, 1933 in Schenectady, New York, Louise was a resident of East Sandwich, Massachusetts. But she grew up in Schenectady, where she graduated from Mount Pleasant High School before continuing her education through college in Massachusetts General Hospital Nursing Program. Later, she served in the Air Force as a nurse, attaining the rank of captain. Ms. Carandy, thank you for that service. After leaving the Air Force, she obtained a master's degree in special education and worked as a special education teacher for many years. An adventurous world traveler, Louise found joy in seeing new places and experiencing different cultures, while her deep faith remained a constant throughout her life. She loved going to Mass and singing in the choir at Corpus Christi Parish in Sandwich, and she especially cherished the many friends she made there. A Mass of Christian burial will be held at Corpus Christi Parish at 324 Quaker Meeting House Road in Sandwich, August 13th. That's this Wednesday, from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. A burial will follow at the Massachusetts National Cemetery, Connery Ave, on August 13th from 12:45 p.m. to 1 p.m. In lieu of flowers, please donate in Louise's name to Corpus Christi Parish, 324 Quaker Meeting House Road in Sandwich. Actually, the 13th is Thursday. My apologies for that. Our final obituary is of William F. Schmidt of Harwich, who passed at the age of 99 on July 27th. He was beloved husband of Nadine for nearly 75 years. Bill was born in Jersey City, New Jersey, and he served in the U.S. Army during the occupation of Japan at the end of World War II. Thank you, Mr. Schmidt, for that service. He and Nadine married and lived in Oakland, New Jersey for many years while Bill worked at General Electric. In 1965, he and Nadine moved their family to Cape Cod, where Bill became involved in the marine and construction trades. Subsequently, Bill owned and operated a successful tool rental business in Harwich. He particularly enjoyed playing tennis, swimming, and boating on Nantucket Sound, helping Nadine with their extensive gardens and time spent with his family around the dinner table. And with that, we've come to the end of our obituaries in the Cape Cod Times for August 10th of 2026. Moving back to the front of the paper, we've exhausted all of the local news. Epstein accuser's brother continues fight. Launches nonprofit group started by Giuffre. This is reported by Laura Trujillo of USA Today. There was a time, Sky Roberts said, when he thought he'd be celebrating his big sister's August 9th birthday with her, margaritas in hand, sharing stories of childhood parties with their cousins. Instead, he'll mark the day honoring Virginia Roberts Giuffre's advocacy for victims of sex trafficking and continuing her work. He is relaunching his sister's nonprofit SOAR Speak Out, Act, Reclaim to support victims of sex trafficking, abuse, and domestic violence. Giuffre, a key accuser of late financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, died by suicide at 41 in April of 2025. In many ways, he's just making his role official. He spent the past year working for justice for Giuffre and other victims. Roberts met with dozens of women who also say Epstein sexually abused and trafficked them. He stood at the U.S. Capitol to support the Epstein Transparency Act and demonstrated outside Zorro Ranch in New Mexico to push for the release of unredacted documents in the Epstein files. He's told his sister's story again and again, how she accused Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the former prince, of sexually abusing her at age 17 when she was trafficked by Epstein, and how she later built a beautiful life with 3 children. Now he wants the organization to be a resource hub for survivors, something his sister never had. SOAR is relying on donations to help women, including an emergency fund to help victims of Epstein. The late Queen Elizabeth II's contribution to SOAR might soon help. The former prince, her second son, settled a civil suit with Giuffre in 2022 for an undisclosed amount. He said he would make a substantial donation in support of victims' rights to her organization, but did not admit any wrongdoing. A statement at the time said the former prince regrets his association with Epstein and commends the bravery of Ms. Giuffre and other survivors in standing up for themselves and others. King Charles III removed Mountbatten Windsor's title in November of 2025. The Daily Mirror has reported the settlement was $16 million, with the Queen contributing $2 million to the charity. Giuffre died in Australia without a will, so the estate is now tied up in disagreements between family members. The next headline in the Cape Cod Times: lawmakers demand ICE facility overhaul. Letters detail shortage in medical staffing and care, by Finch Walker. In lengthy letters sent to GEO Group and officials with Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Department of Homeland Security, 3 Democratic Pennsylvania lawmakers demanded an overhaul of procedures at the Northeast's largest immigration detention facility, and reports on a potential conflict of interest involving ICE's acting director. On August 5th, U.S. Representatives Madeleine Dean, Summer Lee, and Chris DeLuzio co-wrote letters detailing concerns about Moshannon Valley Processing Center. The letters, sent to GEO Group, Acting Director of ICE David Venturella, and Sean Conley, Acting Director and Chief Medical Officer of the DHS's Office of Health Security, detailed what the members of Congress saw during visits at the Pennsylvania ICE facility. They also addressed concerns about Venturella's ties to GEO Group. The lawmakers said there was a dangerous shortage in medical staffing in violation of GEO's federal contract, and the detainees reported not receiving mandatory medical screenings within 12 hours of their arrival, as mandated by federal law. They also discussed 3 detainees who died while at the facility in 2023 and 25. Chaofeng Gay, a 32-year-old who died by suicide in 2025, entered the facility in severe mental distress and did not receive adequate mental health treatment or a Mandarin translator before his death, according to the letter. Franklin Okpu, 37, died in solitary confinement in 2023. Fuad Saeed Abdul Qadir, 46 years old, died in 2025 after complaining of severe chest pain. During DeLuzio and Lee's visit to the facility in May, they spoke to women who described the conditions they were facing, the representative said. A pregnant woman said she was denied prenatal care and was unsure of the status of her pregnancy after seeking care for bleeding. Another woman said she had been sexually assaulted in the facility. The lawmakers' letters blame the issues at the facility on it being run under a privatized, for-profit business model. The lawmakers also raised concerns about Venturella's connection to GEO presenting a conflict of interest. Venturella worked as a senior executive at GEO for more than a decade, initially serving as Senior Vice President of Client Relations, then as a consultant through January of 2025. In their letters, the lawmakers make numerous demands, including a plan outlining how ICE will enforce compliance with federal law regarding medical screenings, a new staffing plan, a plan for monitoring federal contract compliance, and records of month-by-month medical staffing logs since November of 2021. And with that, we've come to the end of the Cape Cod Times reading for today, August 10th of 2026. We've exhausted all of the local news and all but one of the national stories. This is your reader, Eric, saying be well, be safe, look after each other, and remember our veterans, especially those we've lost recently. Bye for now.